Hey everybody, I'm Adam Hildebrandt, and I'm joined by Oklahoma State legend John Smith, who has been a legend on the mats as a wrestler and as a coach, and has now moved on into non-wrestling centric life. Not non-wrestling involved, more on that in a little bit, but it hasn't quite been the centerpiece here in the last several months. So first of all, thanks for joining us. Glad to get to meet you and to chat with you a little bit. What's that been like? I mean, 33 years as the head coach of a college wrestling program, and then you move on to where it's not quite as wrestling centric. What's that transition been like?
Oh, it can be challenging a little bit at times, but only from a competitive state. You're used to every day showing up in the wrestling room and in the office and, pushing guys as hard as you can push them, and supporting them as much as you can. And so, some of that you do miss. But be honest with you, I've really enjoyed being retired. I find myself outside all the time, spending time on my ranch, and the last few months I've been able to travel and hit some destinations that I've always wanted to hit. And the last one was Argentina. I went fishing in Argentina for this one particular fish called a golden dorado, and I've thought about doing this for like 30 years, and finally got a chance to do it, and I went and did it. So,
did you catch
pretty
any?
Exciting. Yeah, I caught some. I caught a lot.
So I would imagine, that sounds like that's something that's been on your mind for a while. But how did you learn about? I want to go to Argentina and catch golden dorado. Like that's not something
it's
I've
fly
ever heard
fishing.
Of. Okay.
And so took up fly fishing a long time ago, and a fly fisherman always loves to hit destinations where they have a chance to have a great experience fighting fish, bringing fish in. And so we were on a river in the middle of Argentina, and there was with a couple of guys that were from Oklahoma State. Great experience, and the fishing was everything I thought it would be, plus some. Yeah, so it was great.
Love it. Was fly fishing something that you were able to do some while you were coaching?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that was kind of your getaway?
It's just part of my yearly vacation, with my family, my sons. Love to fly fish. My wife loves to fly fish, so we enjoy it.
You mentioned it being different competitively. You're obviously not quite as much in that arena. Do you still find little ways to kind of compete with yourself after you've left coaching?
Not so much with myself. What I have enjoyed is going to the OSU wrestling matches, some of the football games, some of the baseball games, softball, and I find myself being a competitive fan, and that's what I kind of like. I like sitting in the background and yelling at the referees. I've actually even complained about our head coach, David Taylor, a little bit, what he should do, sitting in the chair, but it's been enjoyable. I just got back from the Big 12. First time in 3 years we won the Big 12 championship. Congratulations, Coach Taylor, and congratulations to the team. They're heading to nationals soon, and so we're going to wish them our best.
Yeah, I saw a great photo of you in the stands over in Tulsa, cheering them on, and you did look pretty fired up about whatever was going on in that exact moment. What was that perspective like, being in the stands and not kind of having as much control over what was going on?
I enjoyed in the stands. I don't really wish I was ever back down in that chair. I had enough of that, and I think I left at a good time. But it's competitive in the stands when you have several of the athletes. You recruited a few of them, and wishing them the best, and fighting for every point with them.
That's a big transition, going from something that you've done in the same rhythm for 3 decades to general life. What's been kind of the biggest area of transition for you?
Well, it's really longer than 3 decades. I mean, I started wrestling when I was 5. I've had a season since I was 5. And most of the time my seasons, both when I was young and all the way through to my last year of coaching, there's a folk style season, which is what we do in college style wrestling. And then there's freestyle in the summer. And so this is the first year I'm 59 now, and real easy, 54 years of wrestling. And so for 54 years, I'd say 5 decades of wrestling, but it was good, really good. I mean, I don't look at it like I wish I would have changed my career, or I wish I wouldn't have put so much time in. No, it was a great experience. Learned a lot through being an athlete and as well as being a coach, and I value my time, and I feel really fortunate that I got to coach at one place for so long. A lot of coaching, it's a hard business, and most coaches have to travel, have to get up and go to the next place. I was fortunate enough and really lucky enough that I got to spend 33 years in coaching here. I started wrestling in 1983. I retired from wrestling after my last Olympics in 1992. And so that's 9 more years tacked on to 33, here in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
So you mentioned earlier going to Argentina, and wrestling has taken you to places like Spain and Seoul, South Korea, and Australia. Are there any places that stand out to trips that you've taken around the world through wrestling that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, Switzerland, beautiful place. One of my favorite places is Rome. I love the cathedral there. I loved just seeing the history of the world at the museum there, and but the one thing I always I've told a lot of people over the years is wherever I went, I always look forward to coming back to Stillwater. And I think everyone that does live in Stillwater understands that, especially the ones that travel, have to travel through work or whatever. I always look forward to coming home after spending time wherever I was. It always felt good to be in Stillwater. It was always home to me. And be honest with you, I haven't found anywhere I've been that I would prefer to live than here.
I can relate to that as someone who has gotten a job here and is in the process of moving back. We're looking forward to being members of the Stillwater community full time again. And you're a guy who.
Congratulations!
Thank you. We're excited about it. You're a guy that you've been in front of microphones, you've been in the paper, you've been on TV, you've done a lot of interviews over the course of time and over the course of your career in wrestling. What is something that people might not realize that wrestling has given you that you have taken from it over the course of your 5 decades being part of it?
Wrestling always requires weight, and ever since I was 5 years old, you when you go wrestle, you got to make weight, and I think the lessons that I've learned in how to eat, over the many years, and as well as in coaching, trying to force a disciplined way of eating for your student athletes, even when you struggle with them, eating the proper things. But really, I've been blessed. I've learned how to eat. I've learned how to take care of my body. Had a lot of injuries during my time as a wrestler, and you learn how to take care of yourself. Especially diet-wise. And here I am, I haven't wrestled, since 1992 as an athlete. I hadn't had to weigh in. I actually haven't been on a scale since 1992. The last time I've been on a scale was at the Olympics in Barcelona the Saturday before the finals, and never stepped on another one. I just said, that was a battle my whole career, as a wrestler. But I really value the lessons I learned nutrition-wise, and you carry those over. And so when you see a wrestler that's older, my age, it's amazing that you see all of them in good shape. Well, we've all learned lessons of how to do things right, and that's what really stands out for me, is that that's an everyday thing, right? And weight is an everyday thing for a lot of people, and so I just really feel blessed that it's not like it's not like hard to me, because what was hard is losing 10 pounds, that those things were hard, but now it's just you're gifted the knowledge, and you're not afraid to be really disciplined with your diet.
That discipline word is one that I wanted to hit on, because you're now working on your ranch a lot. You came actually here from there, and I would imagine some of that discipline plays into that as well. You're taking care of cattle, and there's things you got to take care of out there. So what has ranch life been like for you here recently?
Well, I always had cattle for probably the last I don't know, since early 2000, quite a long time, and really spending time in Stillwater and going to some places outside of town, and it's always something I wanted to do. I always wanted to experience having cows, and I've enjoyed it. It is challenging. I'm a one-man show right now. I've increased my numbers, and I've had a good time in the last 8 months since I've been retired. It's a busy. I'm outside all the time. I'm busy doing something, and it's been everything I hoped for. In retirement. People say, "Oh, you got to have something to do." Well, I have something to do. And I enjoy it because I do love the outdoors. Now, that cold weather we had this year, I asked myself a couple of times, what are you doing out here? No, it was okay. Yeah.
And you've obviously had plenty of challenges that you've overcome over your time as a wrestler. Do you find that applies directly to moments like that, where you're out in the cold and you're like, all right, I got to find a way to push through this, even though it's not a lot of fun at this moment?
It's like you just, for me, it was like that tough moment, come on, let's go. Let's get it done. And yeah, I mean, there were some times during our winter that was challenging, but like I said, I've been doing it quite some time. But when that's what you're doing on a daily basis, and it was good to, go out and get the experience.
And you certainly haven't kicked wrestling entirely to the side. Did I understand correctly that you're going overseas to help with a wrestling camp here soon?
Yeah. Our local club here, Stillwater Wrestling Club, it runs from, 6 years old to most of the kids to 18. But I think there's a group between about 12 to 18 that's going over to Normandy in France, and what experience they're going to have there. And I'm going with them. It's a camp that's going to bring all of Europe, wrestlers at the same age, all of Europe, to Normandy, and these kids are going to get to train for 10 days together. And so that's not only just wrestling, but learning skills, learning technique. I get a chance to run a few clinics, and I get a chance to be with my son too, my youngest son. And so what an opportunity to experience Normandy. I went to France. I wrestled a lot in France, but never have I got a chance to visit Normandy. And as we all know, what a history that these children are going to get a chance to see. Something they may not know about, but they're going to learn a lot about it while they're there.
Do you find that those kinds of lessons, historical lessons, how do they intertwine kind of with wrestling and mindset and things of that nature as you take kids that are of that 12 to 18 years old age and not only make them better wrestlers, but help them grow hopefully as individuals too?
Well, it's what an experience they're going to have. I mean, things that they might not have really understand yet, and but have read it and studied it, and experienced it in the classroom. But it's a neat time. It's going to be a a neat experience for him to be able to see why we address the flag, the U.S. flag, why we address it like we do. Why is it so important that we're standing on our feet and with our hand across our heart? A lot of people have fought for that flag to fly.
We've talked about the different places that you've gone with wrestling, including this Normandy trip that's coming up. Is wrestling itself, how different is it style-wise in different parts of the world? Because obviously everybody comes together and competes at things like the Olympics, the Pan American Games that you've won. How does that, is that different stylistically, even though the rules are inherently the same? Like, how much can wrestlers learn from going to something like this and learning, seeing wrestlers from other parts of the world?
Well, the experience is going to be good because, you know, what we do here in the U.S., we're the only country that wrestles a folk-style wrestling, which we do in college, we do in high school, we do in junior high, you know, and some kids never wrestle the style that's in the Olympics or the World Championships, and that's called freestyle. And they're two distinct differences. So it's a challenge for us to our whole life to wrestle folk style, what the American style is, and then make a transition into freestyle. But a takedown's a takedown, right? And so still takedown's the king. You know, there's different rules, obviously, between the two, the Olympic style and the folk style that we wrestle, again, like in high school and college as well as junior high. But this experience will be freestyle for them. Kids that want to someday have a dream of being an Olympian. This is the style they need to learn. So they're going to learn so much wrestling while they're over there. And the nice thing about it is we're going to have a return of these athletes, several of those athletes coming to Stillwater in a year. So it's a culture exchange trip that's going to experience both Normandy, France, and Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Two places that probably don't get tied together all that often.
Not
but
very often.
A way to build some bridges and connect, certainly. So yeah, what is next after that? What does the next year or so look like for John Smith?
Well, you know, it's obviously spending time on the ranch, and I'm an outdoors person. So, you know, I really love fishing. I love fly fishing, and every chance I get, I try to go, you know. I love Stillwater. It's been really nice to, now, you know, I never really took advantage of our other sports and going, you know, because it's your life is busy. You finish the NCAA championships and you're out recruiting, you know, or you're going into freestyle and preparing guys for tournaments in the summer. And so your time's really limited as a coach, but man, it's been nice to go to the football games this year without any worry that we have practice on Saturday and I got to run or I got to leave early. It's been really nice to watch our men's and women's basketball team. I'm a fan of our softball and baseball teams, and I love the coaches. Good friend of mine, the coaches of the tennis team. You know, it's just really, you know, you take it for granted, and I took it for granted for, I don't know, my whole career here. You know, that there's really a lot of entertainment, a lot of value to going and participating and watching our athletics teams, and so I've really taken advantage of that.
Well, it's been good to see you around in some of those games. They tend to put you on the big screen if they notice that you're at a basketball game or something. So it's good to see you out and enjoying that, and good to get to sit down and chat with you a little bit. And hopefully all the trout are biting the next time we're out fly fishing.
I hope so.
That is Cowboy legend John Smith. Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to you next time.